joining.
Here we go.
You got this. This ain't your first rodeo. It's fine.
Hey, there's Rob. All right. I'm going to. Hi, Rob.
Hi.
Hello. How is everyone?
Good. How are you?
I am doing well.
Excellent.
All right. We're going to go ahead and let a few people in here. I'm going to make you co-host, Rob.
Sounds good.
And I will open up with a little bit of announcements. Make sure we get some networking going on into our chat. And great to see everybody here today. I'm super excited. I know you're excited too because the countdown is on. We've been waiting to hear from our spotlight speaker, so this is super exciting. Before we get going, I do have an announcement to make, but I want to hear from you. Share any of your successes this week. You're out in the field. Are you flying? What are you doing? What's new? Right? Anybody get out there? I see Jim. Jim, we haven't seen you much because you're so busy. I'm quite sure you have something going on.
That is true. Yes, we're always rolling around. I just put in the chat that my last visit to my solar project in Yuma, it was only 117 degrees.
No.
So the things we have to.
So, okay, how does the battery survive that kind of heat?
So I have a policy that I don't fly in triple digits. So that means I got to get there as soon as the sun cracks up and start flying until temperatures get there. So yeah, it's an early day. And when you talk about Yuma's 3 hours away, so if I need to be at Yuma at 6 a.m, I need to leave at 3. So it's a fun day.
Wow. Okay, so hey, good news. There's no traffic.
Yeah, it's not, well, but hang on a second. The double-edged sword is there's no traffic. So when you're speeding, you're the one that gets the ticket.
Oopsies. Did you get a ticket?
Yes, I did.
Oh no.
No.
Not this last time, but a couple weeks ago, I was heading out to Yuma, Dark 30, and just rolling along, and next thing you know, he was right in my mirror. So
Yep. He was happy to see you.
He was happy to have something to do. He was a nice guy as he handed me a ticket for 92 miles an hour.
Oh.
I got nobody to blame but myself.
What's the hurry?
Yeah. Yep.
Oh, wow.
Crossing the desert by yourself, I got to not speed.
Yeah, apparently. I bet you slowed down after that.
You know it. Set the cruise control.
There you go. So I saw a post that you were doing the job on Father's Day. So happy Father's Day to everyone.
To everybody, yes.
I hope everyone had a wonderful weekend. Yeah. So awesome. Anybody else have any stories that they want to share? Hey, Ian, all the way from Ireland. Awesome.
How's it going, Desi? You well?
Wonderful. Yes.
Yeah.
Fantastic. I hope to get you here on our coffee connection and share because you're doing amazing things.
Oh, yeah.
Mhm.
Daddy's on a call here. Do you want to say hi to Desi?
Oh,
Yeah. Ari wants to say hi.
There we go. Future drone pilot right there. Right? Awesome. All right. Well, I want to do a big shout out for the sponsor today, which is onthegovideo.biz. So I will put a link in there if you just have a couple of questions about your drone operations or anything, or wanting some deep dive into a topic or training. That is the place to go. And I will give you the link in there for the website. And outside of that, I know why everyone is here today. I have been so excited. So I met up again. I've met Rob in the past, of course, but he's even been a speaker here before. But it was great to meet up with him again at AUVSI. And so I was thrilled when he said, yes, I'll come back onto the Coffee Connection. So I am going to segue over to Rob. Rob has done amazing things in the industry, and he is here to share how things are moving forward. So, Rob, I'm going to make you spotlight for everybody.
Awesome. Thank you so much, Desi. And it's always a pleasure It's been a little bit since I've been on the webinar here, but happy to be back and share. So yeah, like a little bit about me, just for those who don't know much. So Rob Corbett, I am actually was paralyzed from the chest down in 2016. And at that point, I had to go ahead and decide what I wanted to do to repurpose my career. I didn't know, what type of career path I wanted to jump into, and vocationally, how was I going to move forward? So the drone industry was actually one of the first things that I dove into, which gave me tons of opportunity to kind of pioneer inclusive flight and adapting small UAS and utilizing drones for various purposes. In doing that, as my career grew, I eventually, now about 2.5 years, been working for Drone Deploy, which is a photogrammetry software for processing, mapping, 3D modeling of all things drone photogrammetry. And I'm very fortunate to have worked to get to be a part of the Drone Deploy team, being brought onto that team, because they've allowed me to really work on projects that are really near and dear to my heart. And one of those is the current project that I've been working on, which is the ADA infrastructure project, and using reality capture and drones to assess local municipalities and public areas to see how accessible they are and if they're adhering to new regulations that were brought into play for public right-of-way and for those with disabilities and mobility deficits. And so one of the cool things about the project is, just by flying a drone over my local municipality, I was able to locate all of the handicap parking spots. Most I did not even know exist. And I'm also able to share that data with others. Also being able to find hazards and a lot of other additional information pertaining to accessibility. So it's been a really great journey. I've had a really wonderful team at Drone Deploy helping me out. We've done some great collaboration with other entities, and we're looking to partner out with other drone pilots, other people within industry that would like to contribute to this overarching project. Because just with anything in the drone industry, scalability can be a little difficult if we're trying to capture the, large areas and large amounts of data. So I'll pause there for some quick questions initially. I know that was a lot really quickly, but anything right off the jump anyone has?
Awesome. Awesome. Yeah, so we can open up the mic and ask questions. We can put your questions into the chat. We are very lucky to have Rob here sharing with us today. I'm sure you have questions that'll pop up and you have a presentation, but just tell us a little bit more about that project and getting that rolling out and how that process is going.
Yeah, absolutely. So in conjunction with dronedeploys.org and Rebecca Lehman, who's also been a big champion of this project, just trying to figure out beginning of this year, there were a lot of regulations that came down. In the past, enforcing infrastructure issues when it comes to mobility and accessibility, it was more of a suggestion. There was really an enforcement component wasn't really there, and it still really isn't there to this point. But one of the things that the Department of Transportation and some of the other government entities that are overarching on seeing these ADA regulations, they put into place now that there's going to be they're going to try to enforce it a lot better. So in doing that is how do we identify it? How do we identify the issues? And they're really things that until I was in a wheelchair, I never would have thought twice of, what's the slope of the ground of a sidewalk? How many cutouts are in a sidewalk? Where are all the handicap parking spots? Are there any hazards? What's the width of this? So a lot of little things that have really added up that now they're going to start enforcing. And drones and photogrammetry and reality capture and ground cameras are all things that we can utilize to assess these. and to improve these areas. So the goal is capture some additional areas, continue to build this project out as much as we can, but ultimately distributing this data to the user, the end user being individuals with disabilities, municipalities, government entities that can enforce this data and say, hey, you know, this needs to be improved, or this is how we can improve this area for accessibility or for wheelchair users, or you know, everything all encompassing ADA and everything encompassing right away. So it really just started with an idea and just getting out and flying and capturing areas and working with different entities. So we've also had conversations with the United Spinal Association, which is a large nonprofit that handles advocacy for individuals with spinal cord injuries. And they've been a real proponent on supporting the capture of all this data. And ultimately, we're going to lean on organizations like that to give us kind of an accessibility score. So they'll be able to look at the data, tell us how accessible an area is, and then they'll be able to score that area and then hopefully distribute that data to their users. And so that's kind of one of the end goals that we have, but it's very fluid at this point, and you know, still looking for a little bit more traction and a little bit more support.
Fantastic, fantastic. So, I don't want to keep asking questions that might be coming up in the future, but you talked about ways that people can partnership with you. What are you looking for in that respect?
Yeah, so you know, I think with this approach, and it's very grassroots, in the sense of you know, what we're doing and you know, trying to catch traction. I think, you know, it started with just a few pilots collecting their local areas, or people from United Spinal reaching out and saying, hey, could someone fly my area? And then we could assess this area. Almost kind of, I don't know if you recall Globee and kind of how they did their crowd droning approach to some of the climate change capture that they have done over the last few years. I almost envision it being similar to that, almost like a crowd droning, you know, as people, you know, capture their areas and we all collaborate together, and then provide that additional data. I think all of it coming together into one singular project at the end, I think, is kind of how we would attack that.
So if somebody was wanting to move forward with this, do they contact you direct, or do they reach out to someone in their community, say, hey, we're doing this project, we want to collect the footage, and then turn it over to you?
So they could reach out to me directly and we'll help liaison in their community. So say there's waivers or there's anything that they need assistance with, or they're looking for authorization to fly in certain areas. We'll certainly be able to assist with that. We'll assist with maybe some of the flight planning. We can assist with access to software. So access to Drone Deploy to be able to capture this area and be able to you know, get all the essential tools and measurements that we're using to access this data. So yeah, I mean, it would just reach out, you know, open book here, and anyone can reach out at any time and we'll help facilitate what we can. We've even discussed too, just, you know, there's not a large, I don't have a large inventory, but even if someone needs some temporary equipment support or something, I'm totally on for assisting with.
Wow, this is exciting. Okay, so we already have a comment into our chat. I'm interested, as this would make great for a student project at work at a community college. Yes, I totally agree with that. So would they reach out to you if they wanted to move forward with this?
Absolutely. Yeah, if you go ahead and just send me an email, and Desi, if you can put my email in the chat.
Okay.
Yep, there
Call
we
it
go.
done.
Yeah, if you just reach out to me, we can talk about getting access to your students, and being able to kind of develop around that program, how they could capture their areas. Educational institutes are really going to be a huge huge key here, because one, just the pure amount of areas, right? Like being able to capture campuses, like that's super helpful, because they need to be ADA compliant as well, just as much as any other public space. So having some additional workforce in the education space is definitely a huge thing.
Oh, this is very exciting. So of course, I'm already thinking for the Girls Take Flight program. This would be perfect. So, do you have a PowerPoint? Okay, she said that she will be emailing you soon. Do you have a PowerPoint presentation that you would like to share with us?
Yeah, so I do have like a previous PowerPoint that I've used. And then also I was just going to share some of the dashboard of Drone Deploy, just to show you like an existing project that I have currently and how we're assessing that data and some of the things that we're looking for. So I'll go ahead and just share that straight away.
You have Spotlight. You should be co-host, so you should be able to share. You're all good.
Right. Bear with me here.
Awesome. Don't forget, if you have questions or anything, feel free to put those into the chat.
Okay, so this is just an example of my local area, or one of the local areas that I've recently captured. So initially, very small flight, nothing too crazy. Captured essentially 1,200 images total. Also have guidelines and parameters on the best way to capture some of these areas. One of the initial things we looked for, because there is a mandate that says for every so many parking spots, there has to be handicap parking spots available. So one of the things that I worked with our engineering team to identify is how can we use AI to fly an area, and then once this map is processed, how can I use AI to identify where handicap parking spaces exist in my local area? And we did this by adding attributes, because not every handicap parking spot is going to appear the same. What we do think of when we think of handicap parking spots is, okay, we have this universal symbol with a wheelchair, and that's kind of what we're thinking of. Sometimes it's blue, sometimes it's not. That's not always the case when things age, they get weathered. And so we also added some additional attributes is, okay, well, there's also these hash lines that are accompanied with handicap parking spaces. So as we train the model to locate handicap parking spots, we were able to find different attributes. So now we can fly an area, we can process the data, and within a few moments, we can go ahead. I think this took about maybe 5 minutes to populate all of the handicap parking spots in this particular area. And it was so efficient and fast. We didn't start that way, but certainly the goal is to improve the AI, and we're able to find the parking spots at a greater ability. And another thing too is we're able to also locate structures. So this is a handicap ramp that comes from the parking structure all the way to the street here. And one of the things that we're able to do, sorry if my clicking ability is not the greatest today. There we go. So one of the things that we're able to do, and because it is it's a mandate that wheelchair ramps in general, they have to be of a certain slope. So we can actually measure the slope. We can get the length of the ramp, all of this additional data. So when we talk about assessing the area, all of it is available within a few clicks after we've uploaded all the images. So the whole process maybe takes about an hour, from capturing the data to uploading it to processing it to then going back and finding these different hazard areas and using AI to generate some of this information. The goal moving forward would be having AI also indicate curb cutouts for crosswalks, and also having it identify additional hazards. So if there's maybe as in this instance, sorry, my computer's being a little slow. There's a hazard here, and we click on the hazard and we know, okay, this is an obstruction. Well, this obstruction in the way cuts down on the distance that someone like myself that's in a wheelchair won't have a lot of ability to go around this, and you become in danger of coming off the sidewalk here. So you really only have about 6 feet of room. So it's just a lot of these little like nuanced things that we're able to find in a very short amount of time, and we're able to analyze the data. So yes, any questions so far as I'm kind of going through the model here, and I can show you some additional points and annotations that we have.
So if I remember back to the party rental days, my previous life, the ADA ramps, the gradual slope was like 1 inch per 4 feet or something along that lines, wasn't it?
So 1 foot per, 1 foot per inch is actually the,
Okay.
yeah.
And so it makes sense that this would be a great way to actually take that measurement and utilize that data being presented. That's awesome. So when we're talking about utilizing the AI for this, I know Drone Deploy has so many options, your measurements and volumetrics and all that. Is there going to be, or is there a feature where we are just calculating that, where we just say, okay, go assess and find all of the symbols?
Yes, so that is the goal. And right now with this project, it's just, this is very much so an internal, like, hey, the engineering teams, hey, try this out. But eventually, it would be public facing for this particular build. And we're still working on, making improvements to it. But eventually, yes, the goal is to have this public in the software, to where anyone can take this any of the AI and they can say, hey, I need to find cutouts for the sidewalk. I need to find cutouts for, handicap parking spaces, things like that. And then they'll be able to, successfully assess that area moving forward. And then also too, just being able to understand, different slope of areas overall and everything. So there's just a lot of data that derive, and there's so many users that could benefit from this data. And we're not just talking about the advocates for accessibility, but passing this data on to city planners and government officials with the municipalities, all just wonderful information that we can glean in a very short amount of time, depending on access and things like that.
Awesome. So we do have a couple questions in our chat. One that is always at the top of the list for questions: what drones can we use to capture the data for the project?
So the wonderful thing about Drone Deploy is that we are drone agnostic. So you can process data from any platform. The only caveat there is we may or may not support autonomous flight for that particular drone, but we can always process the data no matter what. So really, and I'll share some parameters at the end as well of kind of guidelines of how we fly these missions and things like that. But any drone, we can process data from pretty much any sensor out there.
Awesome. Well, I'm glad you just said you would add those parameters, because that was about to be my next question. Johnny asked about, once you've tailored the violations, how do you go about addressing them and processing the fixes? What is that next step?
Absolutely. We're still looking at what that overall picture is going to look like. Previously, in the past, what we've seen is, someone finds a violation in their community, they reach out to, the city, they reach out to the county, and they say, hey, this needs to be improved. This needs to be, part of, this violates this issue. So what we're going to try to do, because it is more, the public right of way has become more of a mandate. We're going to try to find a submittal system between there's 5 federal agencies that actually can enforce this now. So we're just going to find a way. Maybe they have a tip line, maybe they have a suggestion line, maybe they have a drop box for their email, and you're able to go in and, say, hey, this is the data. This is what it looks like. Here's the geolocation data. Because not only are we collecting measurement, not only are we collecting all these wonderful things, we also are getting geolocation data that we can make these, we can send this to anyone and they can pull it up on a map and say, okay, yeah, I do see that. They can validate it as well. So a lot of things there.
What is the precision need to be for this?
So I can, depending on the type of drone, we really within, I would say 10 centimeters is probably pretty solid. I've been able to get within 1 centimeter for some of these, but 10 centimeters is typically a good tolerance to be in.
Seems as if a lot of it is just identification and visualizing,
Yes.
okay, where is it? Where is the access and such like that. So
Absolutely.
John, who is AKA Valerie at the moment, he's posted a question in here or a comment that he's doing the surveys for the Red Cross, and right now they're out there doing the measurements by a calculator, his phone, tape measure, that type of thing. Wow, we just offered a fantastic solution for you, John. Right?
Yeah, because we go in and inspect facilities for suitabilities as disaster shelters. And so we have to go in and measure and make sure that all the ADA specs, all the specs are there on the facility. And it's typically junior high school, universities, because they have gyms. You don't have elementary school because the toilets and things like that tend to be small, but we have to go and measure this, and it would be really amazing to have each one of our facilities in this type of view for planning, because you need to figure out how you're bringing the emergency response vehicles in and how many parking spots do you actually have. And
Fantastic. Awesome. I hope I didn't just freeze.
this into, we use ArcGIS, and so we could bring this kind of data in there for each one of our shelters. That would be quite amazing. So, and no, I'm not Valerie. Thanks.
Absolutely. And yes, facilities management, emergency management, and then bringing all of this data into geospatial projects or programs like ARC, super easy to do. And so, yeah, it would definitely, I think, simplify your workflow a lot.
Okay. Yeah. Thank you for this, Rob. I appreciate
Yeah.
it.
And feel free to reach out to after this if you have any additional questions as well.
Oh, I got your email already.
Absolutely.
Awesome. Question in our chat, and before we move on, sorry about that, is would this project include pay for the drone flight, and how much would you make for a flight if there was compensation?
So, like I said, right now we are very grassroots as we're building this out. I'm not sure when we talk about drone services and being able to put a monetary tag on this. I would say it just really it depends on how large the scales and then what the support of it would be and who's supporting it, right? You know, if it's something that you would like to monetize, like say you want to reach out to, you're a drone service provider and you want to reach out to your local municipality and say, hey, you know, I can provide this data, then that would be something that, you know, you could probably put a price tag on as a DSP to say, I can do an accessibility scan of your area. And then I think at that point, you would base it, you know, whatever your cost is typically going to be for that type of flight, for that many hours, and for that much data collection.
Thank you. I think that wraps up the chat for right now.
Perfect. And then, and you know, another aspect that I haven't touched on even too much at this point, and I apologize, I do have to update some of these slides because since Drone Deploy has acquired Struction Site, which is a ground capture you know, program, we now have DD Ground, which can take street view images and 360 ground view images as well, which just brings a whole nother element because we're not only capturing the aerial where we can see the, you know, handicap parking spaces, where we can see some of the structures and curbs and things, we can actually get ground level now. And what I've done in previous, you know, paths is I'll hook a 360 camera to my wheelchair and go around my town. And I'm able to now see street view, you know, the heights of things, what it looks like from my perspective or someone's perspective, which brings a whole nother element, especially when we start sharing this data with others and the assessments are starting to happen. We now have aerial and ground coverage, which I think is really important.
Agreed. That was actually going to be one of my questions, and now you've addressed it as far as some of those ramps and such like that are actually undercover or under the shelter or something, and they cannot be captured from an aerial image.
Sure. And you also have to, like, the way I envision this as well is there's dense cities that most drone pilots aren't going to be able to get access to, right? And just environmentally, there's going to be hazards to fly in certain areas. So there may be certain maps or certain areas that are only collected by ground or ground 360 cameras. And that's just because of access and being able to get accurate data. So it's not a one size fits all, because it could be either a hybrid between aerial and ground, or it could be solely aerial, depending on the area. Could be solely ground. But the good thing is we have those abilities to provide both of those products. So as I go through the slides here, just kind of, you know, just different things, how we can use these products. So best practices, you know, I'll share this slide out as well. So there is here's kind of the breakdown of what we're getting. The big things we see here, and one of the things that I did find when we talk about aerial, we're looking at no greater than 165 feet above the street line. It's really hard to get accurate measurements, especially when we talk about getting 1 centimeter of accuracy. Of course, higher resolution, lower to the ground. Also going to depend on the type of sensor you're using as a drone pilot. But these are the general guidelines that I kind of came up with as I was flying my areas. You know, 65 to 165 feet above your target area. You want to make sure that you have, you know, 80 to 90% of front overlap, 60 to 70% side. So it goes over camera angle. It also goes in if you were going to utilize GCP points, which again would increase accuracy of your overall area. Lighting conditions, drone camera specs, everything you would need kind of as a quick reference here. And then I also have the same for, you know, ground capture best practices as well. And what we found is the best way to capture these areas with ground cameras as well.
I suggest you take a screenshot. This is great information right here.
Well,
So-
I'll share the link out too, so everybody will have
Even better.
access. Yes.
So I just threw a little piece out there about Jim. Jim's probably going, you just threw that out there, but he is awesome. He has won awards for the amount of flights that he's done with drone deploy. So he really is an expert utilizing it. So Jim, really quickly, I'm going to put you on the spot here. Rob mentioned that the 360 camera and such like that is being used. Have you had opportunities to do that portion of it for the work that you're doing? Okay.
Yes, absolutely. As a matter of fact, as you mentioned, at the last Drone Deploy conference, recognized as the #2 pilot in the system, and I actually won the ground control setup. So after the last Drone Deploy conference, I have begun reality capture and ground capture, even to the point where we have created like a little Google Earth vehicle, and I've got the thing sticking up on the top of my van, and we're driving very, very large solar sites using the walk program. So, which is super helpful. I got to say, where it saved me is that, like in the example of this solar field, it's in the middle of the desert, and when the wind starts blowing, it's nasty. And you can't fly a drone in 25-mile-an-hour winds. So we do a ground capture instead, and the client's real happy with it.
Oh, wonderful. Wonderful.
That is awesome to hear. And I'm glad to see that you're getting value out of both. And definitely as we see both products kind of develop, it's really great and to see the different use cases and workflows. So this one definitely I can see this fit in as well.
I find it really, really fantastic. The problems I'm having is getting clients to recognize the same thing, right? I could apply this to 80% of my client base, and I'm even actually doing one for free right now for a client, so they see it, and plus it's going to give me some data for a portfolio too. But yeah, I mean it's so new and so amazing that a lot of times that it's deeper than what a lot of construction site supervisors can grasp.
Absolutely. And a lot of times people don't realize how they can utilize these products until they see it firsthand. And just showing them is half the battle. So totally understand that.
Well, Rob, since we're on that subject, I'm going to sideline for a second. At the last Drone Deploy conference, I was speaking with several people, and I kind of had a little bit of a movement on an idea, and then it fell flat. And the idea that I have is at that conference, Drone Deploy did a remarkable job of transmitting and sharing that information. Amazing slides, great presentations, wonderful speakers, all of that stuff. Okay, that's what I need to share to my clients. So if they could spend this much time building some of these marketing materials that drone service providers can label and use, that helps everybody. I'm about to do a project now, and I'm reaching out to Drone Deploy. The AI counts. I do college parking lot counts. I'm doing one in September. I always do them, beginning of the school year. So this college gets me this parking count. That's a job for the AI. That's a job for the AI. But the problem is, as a drone service provider, I can't afford that level of subscription for one client, right? So we need some type of a pay-as-you-go. I mean, I would love to even show this data to the client in enticing them to use it. Maybe then I can get the thing, but I can't get the data unless I subscribe, and that's a chunk of change that is a big bite, without having income based from it. So it's a challenge.
Yeah, absolutely. And just to start from the beginning there, we are trying to build out our academy a little bit more. And then also too, I don't know if you've seen recently about the Insight kind of dashboard that we have now.
Yeah.
So we are developing products that you as the DSP or you as the drone pilot could start sharing some of those products out to your customer base.
Perfect.
So that is in the works, and we're always looking to improve that process. And same goes with some of the AI stuff that we're developing. And this is part of that parking lot AI, right? So maybe it's something we have a side conversation. If you reach out, maybe I can point you in the direction of the right teams.
Yeah.
That way we can expand the conversation from
That'd be
here.
great. I would love to be able to utilize it. And I even made this offer that I could use, like in this example of the college, I could use last year's data, right? Show me what the AI does. Let my client compare the AI to their own count and data. So this way, I mean, and the reason why I thought about that was that, I can understand asking for something that's going to benefit the client for free. Nah, maybe not, right? Hey, let me try the AI and I give it to a client. No, let's use the client's old data. So it's not like they need it, right? But this gives them a comparison as to how accurate the AI is. And they also had a couple of great questions. Like in this exact example, I do this lot survey every hour for 12 hours. So they can tell whether or not a truck has been at this loading dock for 1 hour, 2 hours, 3 hours, that kind of thing. So I was asking the question, does the AI know that? Well, the answer was no, not yet. Okay, and that's fine. Does the AI, other questions, can the AI tell the difference between a golf cart and a service truck? Can the AI tell the difference between a bus? And they said, oh yeah, buses for sure. Trucks, maybe not, because I can imagine it's hard to tell the difference between a pickup truck that a student could be driving and a pickup truck that a service person's driving, sure. But those are the questions they're asking. How utilized is this loading dock? How utilized is this lot? And to be able to give them counts and percentages of occupancy at the time I deliver the map, it's got to save them thousands of dollars. So I get a piece of it, right?
Yeah, definitely. And I would love to expand and talk about your workflow a little
Okay,
bit more.
cool.
So yeah, let's once we adjourn here, please reach out and we can discuss that a little bit further for sure.
Thanks, Rob.
Yep.
Awesome. See, we're all about networking and making connections. I love that.
Well, honestly, my perspective was, well, I talked about it and then nothing happened. Well, it sounds to me, Rob, like you're telling me things are happening relative to getting that information to a DSP. So that's really great to hear. Are you going to go to Scottsdale?
I will not be in Scottsdale.
Oh, bummer. I was hoping to meet you there. Okay.
Yep. But yeah, maybe sometime along the way. I was like Desi said, I was at AVSI representing a little bit earlier this year. So for me, traveling can be a little difficult just due to my disability. So I'm limited a little bit.
I think our paths crossed at AUVSI, but I didn't have an opportunity to actually interact with you personally for a minute or two.
Absolutely.
Cool. All right.
Both of you were at the Women in Drones booth, so thank you for your support. It was great to see you there. Awesome. Okay, you probably have more to share, Rob, but I have another question, and it comes from me being a stalker or being connected, a nice way to say it, on LinkedIn. But I saw you had a post about something going on in South Africa.
Yes. So
What's that all about?
yeah, I'm excited to share this. So I work on the product support team at Drone Deploy, and we're currently we have a position for the product support team, one of the member positions there, specifically for South Africa. So we have one pilot / product support team member there currently, and we're looking to expand that team. So really exciting. We're looking for another team member. The great thing is they'll get to join the wonderful team that I'm a part of. So yes, anyone located in South Africa, we have to get Kat on board with some networking down in South Africa. But yes, there is a post out there. If you want to share, Desi, that Lever LinkedIn post that I had, that would be the perfect place to apply. If anyone in that region would like to apply, just reach out and let me know.
Awesome. I did just see that Sharon had said she would help connect as well. I will post that link that I found. And like I said, I came across that and I went, oh my gosh, that's amazing. That's a perfect connection that we do have. And so Sharon has already made a comment into our chat that she would love to connect and help.
Perfect. Yeah, I see the chatter there from Sharon. Hi, Sharon.
So awesome, awesome. So I will also put that in there. And so we do have a lot of connections in South Africa. So that's very exciting. So I found the post. I will copy the link and put it into our chat.
Absolutely. And I
All right. Yeah.
love the programs down there, and watching the drone pilots grow in that region, but also the drone pilots that utilize wheelchairs in that region, like myself. It's wonderful to see that grow as well. So it's been really awesome to see what they're doing in South Africa, and those pilots that were also wheelchair users that are also flying now is really cool.
Yeah. Yeah. Awesome. Awesome. So, real quick, Sharon is seeing Louise Jupp tomorrow. And so she does our fireside chat for South Africa. So great connection right there. So let's see what else we got in our chat really quick,
Thank
like
you.
in here.
Oh, there you are.
Desi's
You
back.
back.
Was I gone? I was blabbing
were
away
gone.
and I was gone.
Just a little bit.
I was just going to say that's kind of like the mute button my husband has on me, right? So, Marie Louise said it's great to hear the advancements that you are spearheading. And Sharon had posted about seeing Louise. And Louise is also is the one who runs the fireside chat. If we didn't catch that part of it. So great to have a connection there. So we are just about out of time, but can you share one last thought of your journey and the path moving forward, what your vision is? We just have a few minutes left, but we'd love to hear it.
Yeah, definitely. Not much has changed in my overall mission since I began my drone journey years ago. And that's just really just bringing flight to those that may otherwise be grounded, and being as inclusive with SUAS operations as possible, giving people the opportunity to learn and grow within this industry, um, and doing that by combining forces and being advocates for one another. That's what I try to do every day, and I feel like I'm given a platform to do that very frequently, and love what I do, love this industry and the people that surround it. So thank you all. Women in Drones has always been so great and such a big supporter for everything that I've ever done from the very beginning. So thank you. And yeah, I look to continue to develop and grow, and as we grow together.
Awesome. Awesome. Who knew it would be expanding globally like this, right? When you start out and it's like, oh my gosh, look at just the impact you are making. So awesome. I did put your contact information in one more time. That way it's easier for everyone to see. Don't forget to save the chat because there was some good information in here. Rob put a link in here as well. Thank you very much for that. And with that, we are going to wrap it up unless anybody had any one last questions. I see a lot of thank yous in there. Amazing, amazing. Love what you're doing. And I know several of us are going to be jumping on the email and connecting with you. So thank you very much. Thank you for your time. Thank you for everything that you're doing. Awesome. With
Perfect.
that,
Thank you.
wrap it up. All right. All right. Bye, everybody. See you next week. That kind of wraps it up.